Hello students, welcome to the EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Zinat Iqbal from Department of Pharmaceutics, Faculty of Pharmacy, Jamia Hamdard. Today I am going to talk about the module Mucoadhesive Drug Delivery System. Under this we will be talking about the types of the MDDS. This is the part 2 of the series and this is from the paper Novel Drug Delivery System 1. We already have been talking about the mucoadhesive drug delivery systems. We know that the basic premise of any mucoadhesive drug delivery system is the choice of the mucoadhesive polymers. These mucoadhesive polymers then also can be utilized for making the different types of drug delivery systems like that of the ocular, for the nasal drug delivery, for the vaginal drug delivery and for the rectal drug delivery. This is to be understood that whenever we are talking about the mucoadhesive drug delivery systems, the routes of administration can be chosen depending upon the final goal of the therapy. In this module, the learning objectives would primarily focus on the first talking about the types of the MDDS, then we will focus on the first type, that is the ocular drug delivery system, moving to the next type, that is the nasal mucoadhesive drug delivery system, then we will further talk about the vaginal mucoadhesive drug delivery system, the rectal mucoadhesive drug delivery system, its advantages, disadvantages and the various types of formulation strategies. Amongst the various mucoadhesive drug delivery systems which we will be discussing in the current module, the first one which will be of interest to us are the ocular mucoadhesive drug delivery systems. My dear students, before we get into the nuances of understanding the development and design of the ocular drug delivery systems, let us take an overview of the ocular anatomy and physiology. We will only discuss the salient features of the ocular physiology. The first one is your eyelids. The eyelids play the major role of protecting and replenishing the tear film by means of blinking. Each one of you must be aware of the process of the blinking. Above the temporal region of each eye, the lacrimal gland is found, which provides the aqueous fluid that constitutes the tears. Then comes the conjunctiva. The mucous membrane that lines the lids is referred to as the conjunctiva. It is primarily composed of multi-layered, non-keratinized columnar epithelium. It covers the extremely vascularized substantial proporia. Then we have the lacrimal gland. This is found underneath and behind the upper lid and is responsible for secretions of the major volume portion of the tear film. Then we have the cornea. The cornea is a tri-layered membrane which appears transparent because of the special arrangement of cells, vascularity and smoothness of epithelium. Then comes the tear film. This is the vital part of the preocular region. Since its primary role is to carry the debris away from the eye, normal tear flow facilitates the release of drug from the precorneal delivery system by maintaining a continuous flow of dissolving fluid, thereby preventing the accrual of drug in the vicinity of the system. Students, it is a well understood fact that whenever we are talking about the modern or the novel drug delivery systems, like in this case of the ocular drug delivery systems, we must understand that why this was actually needed. There has to be a real important reason for moving from the conventional dosage forms to the novel drug delivery dosage forms. So what are the limitations of the conventional ocular dosage forms? Now, first limitation is that after the installation of a conventional ocular drug delivery system, there is an immediate drainage of the drug by the gravity. There is a rapid precorneal elimination, short residence time, tear turnover is there, which probably is again a very important impediment to the proper drug delivery. Then there could be an issue of the protein binding of the drug. Ointments alter the tear refractive index and results in the blurred vision, so that becomes an important limitation. Then finally, there is a continuous need of an increased dosing frequency, and if at all you are suffering from a disease like glaucoma, these instillations can be as high as 10 in a day. Then of course it would lead to patient non-compliance, and finally the conjunctival absorption could be a major limitation. The mucoadhesive polymers used in the ocular dosage forms. The ocular dosage forms can either be liquid form, or they could be in the semi-solid form, or finally in the solid dosage forms. For each of its formulation, there could be a choice of some of the mucoadhesive polymers. Starting with the liquid dosage forms, which are primarily found in the form of eye drops or suspensions, we can have list of polymers which can be very effectively used for this particular purpose. The first and the foremost polymers which are of choice include the cellulose derivatives, which primarily enhance the viscosity of the ocular dosage formulation. Hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose, hydroxypropyl cellulose are pH sensitive polymers which exhibit the surface active properties influencing the blinking rate, with ultimately altering the elimination of the drug instilled. Polyacrylates or carbomers are used in the dry eye syndrome as artificial tears. Sodium hyaluronase is used as tear substitutes in various eye disorders. Hyaluronic acid is employed as biodegradable and biocompatible matrix, enabling extended drug release, whereas the chitosan is commonly used to increase retention and probably gives the mucoadhesive properties in the suspension form rather than in the solution form. Semi-solid dosage forms or the in situ gel formulations. The polymers which are of choice include Polaxamar 407. Its solution viscosity increases when its temperature is raised to the eye temperature. This advantage can be of much importance when we are making formulations which are referred to as the in situ gel formulations. The name in situ primarily emphasizes that the formulation is in the liquid form outside the eye, while when it comes in contact with the eye temperature, it results in the gelification or gel formation. The other polymers which can be used are cellulose acetophthalate, which coagulates when the pH of the solution 4.5 is raised to 7.4 by the presence of the tear fluid, thus forming hydrogels. These formulations are used in symptoms associated with dry eye syndrome. Methyl cellulose, hydroxyethyl cellulose are very commonly used in the preparations which are meant for controlled release of the drug. Polyacrylic acid form hydrogen bonds between its COOH groups and sialic acid COOH groups of the mucin glycoprotein, which can cause a significant increase in the viscosity. These are primarily employed for manufacturing the hydrogels to treat the ocular irritation. Galangum forms a clear gel in presence of mono or divalent cations, and these are highly suitable in case of glaucoma therapeutics. Sodium alginate can be used in various hydrogel formulations, and mixtures of carbopol, pluronic are used in situ gelling vehicle to enhance the ocular bioavailability. Solid dosage forms, which primarily includes ophthalmic inserts, films, wafers, or rods. Thiolated polyacrylic acids are most useful in developing an ocular insert. Water-soluble cellulose derivatives and polyvinyl alcohol can also be used for the same purpose. Polyethylene oxide developed gel-forming erodible inserts are used for the controlled delivery of drugs. Other non-biodegradable bioadhesive materials for drug release are vinyl pyrrolidone, polyamidoamine dendrimers, and polydimethylsiloxane. Just to highlight the various advantages of these solid dosage forms, the first and the foremost advantage is that they lead to accurate dosing of a particular drug. They also offer controlled release. They have a limited systemic absorption. They have a reduced frequency of dosing. Adverse effects and blurring of vision occurrence are curtailed. These are less susceptible to defense mechanisms like outflow through the nasolacrimal duct. Then they result in prolonged retention in conjunctival sac and are more stable than the conventional dosage forms. However, the limitations include the patient's unwillingness, which is maybe referred to as the patient non-compliance, uncomfortable feeling of foreign body in the eye could be there, and sometimes sporadic failures in using inserts such as unnoticed excretion from the eye could happen. As in other cases, there are certain advanced systems which are available for the use in the ocular drug delivery. These systems primarily can be referred to as the colloidal particulate systems, which will include nanoparticles, nanocapsules, submicron emulsions, and nanosuspensions, which are usually applied in the liquid form just like any other eye drop solutions. The basic difference is the particulate systems are made up of certain specific polymers which are then suspended or gelled into a particular base or any aqueous base or solvent per se. This improves the bioavailability of the ocularly applied drug. It avoids the discomfort of viscous or sticky preparations such as ointments and blurring of vision. A potential advantage is the targeting of the drug to the site of action, leading to a decrease in the dose required and a decrease in the side effects. Chitosan is widely used in the formulation of micro and nanoparticles ocular drug delivery system. Polycarboxylic acid carriers such as polyacrylic acid and polyitaconic acid employed to formulate nanoparticulate hydrogel for sustained release of any drug to the ocular site. Dear students, as we just learned, the ocular drug delivery systems based on the mucoadhesion could be of variety of kinds. They will definitely have certain advantages, but of course, they will also have certain limitations. The first primary limitation is the non-specificity of the first generation polymers, which are expected to attach to the conjunctival. These may migrate, resulting in deposition of a semi-solid within the cornea, causing detrimental effect on the visual acuity. Then of course, there would be a problem of the limited bioavailability. This will be in case of polymers such as carbomer, polycarbophil because of their high swelling capacity in the neutral pH environment of the eye. Primarily also, maintaining the low viscosity through pH regulation in the range between 4 to 5 may result in patient unease and mild lacrimation affecting the treatment. My dear students, in front of you, you can see the various marketed ocular mucoadhesive formulations, which can include something like the hypotears, which is used as a lubricant eye ointment. Then you can have this lube eye drops, which primarily consist of the carboxymethyl cellulose, sodium as the basic polymer, and many other things which are available in current market. The next system which we will be discussing in the due course of time includes the nasal mucoadhesive drug delivery system. Before we get to understand the various formulation strategies for design and development of nasal mucoadhesive drug delivery system, let us very quickly take an overview of the nasal mucosa. As understood by the acronym nasal mucoadhesive drug delivery system, which is absolutely understandable that the mucosal in question is the one which is present in the nose of a human being, and the polymeric system would be designed to be able to retain on this system for a prolonged period of time. If we talk about the surface area of the nasal mucosal layer, it is approximately around 150 to 200 centimeters squares and about 5 centimeters thick. The epithelial cells in the nasal vestibule are stratified, squamous, and keratinized with the sebaceous glands. The diagram in front of you clearly identifies these attributes. This nasal mucosa is highly vascularized and permeable membrane with only two cell layers separating the nasal lumen from the dense vasculature within the lamina propria. About 1.5 to 2 liters of nasal mucus is produced daily. Submucosal glands secrete majority of the nasal mucus. Glands comprise both mucus cells secreting the mucus gels and serous cells which produce the watery fluid. Submucosal glands in the human nose have been estimated to be around 1 lakh in number. Mucus is also released from the goblet cells. The pH of the nasal mucosa varies slightly between the children and the adult. In the former case, it is between 5 to 6.7, whereas in the case of the human adults, it ranges between 5.5 to 6.5. Students, there are certain focused advantages of the nasal mucoadhesive drug delivery. The first one is that it yields improved patient compliance, it results in good penetration, rapid absorption and onset of action, direct delivery of drug to the central nervous system can be obtained. Of course, it will avoid the hepatic first pass metabolism. Bioavailability of larger drug molecules can be improved by means of absorption enhancers. It will also improve the bioavailability of small drug molecules, and it is convenient for long-term therapy compared to the parenteral medication. Moreover, drugs possessing poor stability in the GIT fluids can very well be given by the nasal route. Of course, it's easy and convenient and can easily be administered to the unconscious patients. Barrier to nasal drug delivery. Like in case of the ocular drug delivery, the nasal drug delivery also offers certain barriers. They can be very quickly summarized as: number one, the first barrier is the membrane permeability. Hydrophilic and large molecular weight drugs like peptides and proteins are having the low membrane permeability. Therefore, they are mainly absorbed through the endocytotic transport process in very low amounts. The second barrier is the environmental pH barrier. Small water-soluble compounds such as benzoic acid, salicylic acid, and alkaloid acid show that their nasal absorption in rat occurred at the greatest extent at those pH values where these compounds are in the non-ionized form. The third barrier is referred to as the mucociliary clearance. The mucus is transported at a rate of 5 milliliters per minute, and its transit time in human nasal cavity is 15 to 20 minutes. It prevents the noxious substances like the allergens, bacteria, toxins, and viruses from reaching the lungs, and hence this becomes a very important natural strength of all the human beings. However, the results in transport of any such material adhering to the mucosa towards the nasopharynx for eventual discharge into the gastrointestinal tract. This phenomena primarily will result in wastage of the drug, while it was beneficial in cases of the noxious substances. The fourth one is the cold or rhinitis, and this will eventually influence the bioavailability of the drug. Mucoadhesion, an approach to enhance intranasal delivery. This module primarily focuses on exploiting and exploring the process of mucoadhesion for delivery of drugs to different routes. The routes which we are discussing now is the intranasal route, and the approach remains the same, that is that of using the mucoadhesive polymers. The mucoadhesives which are commonly used in intranasal delivery include chitosan, alginates, cellulose, and its derivatives. Chitosan, along with bioadhesive properties, also work as an absorption enhancer by widening the epithelial tight junctions. This becomes an additional attribute of the chitosan and is very commonly nowadays exploited for the delivery of drug through the intranasal route. Sodium alginate is widely used due to its non-toxicity, biocompatibility, and gel formation capabilities. Carbopol 934B and polycarbophil inhibit the proteolytic enzymes, therefore employed for intranasal delivery of peptides. Pectin is commercially available in 3 different forms, each varying in their substitution degree. The first variety is the high methoxyl variety, which is called as HM. The second one is the low methoxyl, LM, and the low methoxyl amidated is referred to as LMA pectin. The LM pectins have been shown to gel and be retained in the nasal cavity after appropriate deposition. Consequently, 2 types of pectin, which are called as LM5 and LM2M, together with chitosan G210, can also be used for the same purpose. Let us now dwell upon the various limitations of the nasal mucosal drug delivery systems. The first limitation is it offers a risk of local side effect and irreversible damage of cilia on nasal mucosa. It can disrupt and even sometimes dissolve the nasal membrane. It reduces the capacity of nasal absorption, might result in low bioavailability, limited volume of the nasal cavity, restricts the total amount of the formulation that can be administered. Only low dose drugs or drugs can be given intranasally, so that becomes a very big limitation. Degradation of certain drugs in presence of nasal enzymes can happen, and there could be a high nasal mucociliary clearance of the drug. Picture in front of you probably gives an idea about the popularity of the various nasal mucoadhesive formulations. You can have in front of you, as you can see, a preparation which is a nasal spray suspension having the antifungal triamcinolone acetonide as the API. Similarly, a preparation which is probably focused at the dry noses is consisting of something like sodium hyaluronate as the polymer base. Then similarly, you can have the preparations for crusty dry noses, and the other names which are commonly used or commonly available are the No-Drip Afrin nose drop and the Piconase nose drop. One of the major routes of administration, which is perhaps gender specific, but has taken the complete advantage of the availability of the mucoadhesive polymers, is the vaginal route. This route is amenable and very suited for delivery of local as well as systemic drug by virtue of using various types of mucoadhesive polymers. A formulation which relies upon the use of mucoadhesive polymers and is focusedly targeted to delivery in the vaginal site can be referred to as the vaginal mucoadhesive drug delivery systems. In the subsequent slides, we will be able to understand them in a little more detail. In front of you is a diagram of the anatomy and physiology of the vagina. You can very well see the different areas or different structures which are associated with the female reproductive organ. Amongst them, one of the major parts is referred to as the human female vagina. The length and the width of the vagina is different in the premenopausal as well as the postmenopausal females. In the former, it is between 7 to 8 centimeters by 2 centimeters, whereas in case of the postmenopausal female, its shrink is a little bit. The pH of the vagina is usually ranging between 4 to 5 in the premenopausal women, whereas it rises to almost 7 in the postmenopausal female. The use of the mucoadhesive drug delivery systems for successful delivery onto this organ depends upon the understanding of the anatomy as well as the physiology offered by this gender-specific organ. The vagina is exceptionally elastic because of the smooth elastic fibers. The large surface area of the vagina, owing to the numerous folds by microridges covering the epithelium cell surface, the vaginal wall consists of 3 layers, primarily named as the epithelial layer, the muscular coat, and the tunica adventitia. The vaginal tissue is highly vascularized and has got the presence of network of blood vessels. It surpasses the first pass metabolism as blood leaving the vagina enters the peripheral circulation via a rich venous plexus emptying into the internal iliac veins. Therefore, not to mention, this is an organ which primarily can be exploited for delivery of drugs which are susceptible to first pass hepatic metabolism. This is uncornified and pluristratified epithelium having a variable thickness of 200 to 300 micrometers depending upon the age, the hormonal levels, and especially of the estrogen. The production of vaginal fluid is about 6 grams per day, and the volume present in the vagina is approximately between 0.5 to 0.75 ml at a given time. The enzymatic activity may affect short and long-term stability of intravaginal delivery systems. Mucoadhesive vaginal drug delivery system. The premise of today's module is primarily based upon the use of the mucoadhesive drug delivery systems. In this case, we are talking about the vaginal specific drug delivery systems. It can be of huge variations. In a vagina, you can have the usage of mucoadhesive tablets, pessaries or suppositories, mucoadhesive gels, emulsion-based formulations, microparticulate systems, nanoparticulate systems, and a combination of all these systems. When we talk of the vaginal drug delivery systems, the first one which comes to our mind and is the simplest to understand is the mucoadhesive tablets. Mucoadhesive polymers such as chitosan, polycarbophil, cellulose ethers, and polyvinyl pyrrolidone are commonly used to formulate the matrix system of the mucoadhesive tablets. The drug release primarily is through diffusion, and that is through the swollen polymer, and sometimes the combination of diffusion and erosion is there. Control release may be modified by the presence of the soluble and insoluble fillers. We can use the rate release accelerants in case when the drug is not releasing properly, and a vice versa approach can be employed if we have to delay the release of the drug. The tablets which are formed for the insertion in the vagina can primarily be of 2 types. We can have fast disintegrating tablets which are designed to spread along the vaginal mucosal surface, and monolithic control release systems that are not aimed to disintegrate but to slowly release the drug. Polycarbophil and sodium carboxymethyl cellulose are used as bioadhesive polymers to develop an acid buffering vaginal tablet maintaining an acidic pH in the vaginal environment. It is non-disintegrating mucoadhesive matrix systems. It can be formulated using the thiolated polyacrylic acid cysteine conjugates. Mucoadhesive matrix tablet employing 25 to 40% weight by weight of chitosan can delay the drug release for up to 6 hours and usually follow a non-Fickian diffusion parameter. Pessaries or suppositories. These are the commonest type of the vaginal preparations which are self-administered, and these melt or disintegrate or dissolve in the vaginal cavity, resulting in a sustained drug release. These could be lipophilic or lipid-based formulations which melt at the physiological temperature of the vagina, whereas aqueous vaginal fluids disintegrate or dissolve the hydrophilic formulations. These adhere to the vaginal mucosa on hydration by the vaginal fluids. Mucoadhesive suppositories are composed of one or more hydrophilic mucoadhesive polymers such as sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, polyacrylates, along with suppository base and active ingredients. Mucoadhesive polymers are incorporated in suppositories made of solid triglycerides to increase the residence time in the vaginal tract. Mucoadhesive polymers modulate the dissolution, liquefaction time, and residence of suppositories without affecting the release of drug. Mucoadhesive suppositories are composed of one or more hydrophilic mucoadhesive polymers such as sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, polyacrylates, along with suppository base and active ingredients. Mucoadhesive polymers are incorporated in suppositories made of solid triglycerides to increase the residence time in the vaginal tract. Mucoadhesive polymers modulate the dissolution, liquefaction time, and residence of suppositories without affecting the release of drug. Include polyacrylic acid derivatives such as carbomer and polycarbophil, cellulose derivatives, chitosan, hyaluronic acid, alginate, carrageenan, sulfated polysaccharides, and various natural and semi-synthetic or synthetic gums. Polycarbophil used for normalizing vaginal pH during the menopause and in case of bacterial vaginosis. An acid buffering bioadhesive vaginal gel based on guar gum, xanthan gum, and hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose along with monosodium citrate as buffering agent is usually used to maintain an acidic pH of 4.4. Mucoadhesive chitosan lactate gels based on different viscosity grades were developed for the controlled release of lactic acid into the vaginal mucosa. Mucoadhesive vaginal gels having antimicrobial properties have been formulated for various sexually transmitted infections to prevent the HIV. Mucoadhesive gels spreads throughout the vaginal surface, preventing microbial transport to epithelial surface and protecting the tissue from various injuries such as during coitus. Emulsion-based formulations. We already know that emulsions could be either oil in water or water in oil in nature. When used for the vaginal delivery, they can be employed for topical delivery of contraceptives, hormones, and antimicrobial drugs. The mucoadhesive polymers which are present in the aqueous phase, whereas the drug is mostly loaded in the oily phase. It is used as an alternative when drug is poorly soluble in water or when a sustained release is required. These are usually referred to emulgels when formulated with mucoadhesive polymers like hydroxyethyl cellulose and sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, and usually delivered vaginally by using an oily phase consisting of a drug something like benzidamine. Some microemulsion developed for peptide delivery with mucoadhesives like polyacrylates, polymethacrylates, cellulose, chitosan, alginate, hyaluronic acid, pectin, and gum tragacanth. Water and oil system emulsions containing an antimicrobial drug and an outer water insoluble phase was developed to incorporate hydrophilic agents in water droplets and primarily for delivery of peptides, proteins such as vaccines. Microparticulate systems. Colloidal systems with a size in the range of microns are referred to as the microparticulate systems. These offer large surface area as compared to the other delivery systems, therefore, wider contact area between the drug and the mucosa is affected. They have got target specificity and primarily have got longer retention time. Mucoadhesive microparticulates for the delivery of iconazole nitrate showed enhanced drug antifungal activity. The mucoadhesive polymers which primarily affected the system were chitosan, sodium CMC, and polaxomers. Alginate microparticles, chitosan microparticles, and pluronic 407 microparticles coated with alginate were developed for the treatment of vaginal candidiasis caused by various types of candida. Mucoadhesive vaginal microspheres are employed for delivery of therapeutically active peptides and proteins. High-F polymer, which is chemically modified ester form of the hyaluronic acid, microspheres have been successfully used for the vaginal delivery of peptides such as nerve growth factor and salmon calcitonin. Nanoparticulate system. Amongst the various colloidal systems, the one which has come up as very promising are the nanoparticulate system. They have been exploited equally nicely for the delivery into the vaginal tissue. They help in improved drug delivery as compared to the microparticulate merely due to their smaller size, the inability of microsystems to cross the mucous membrane due to small channel diameters created by the mucin meshes there, which is very nicely overcome by these systems. 500 nanometric size suggested as the cutoff diameter above which the particles are unable to diffuse through the mucin mesh, and hence a nanoparticulate system is highly desirable. Nanoparticles diffusion rate is governed by the adhesive bonding with the mucin chains and their size range. Retention of nanoparticles related to physical entrapment within the mucous channel network rather than the mucoadhesive interactions. This is a primary difference how the nanoparticulate system acts as compared to the other macrosystems. Liposomes are most successfully used due to the ability to incorporate both hydrophilic and hydrophobic drugs. The liposomes for controlled and sustained release of acyclovir for the local treatment of genital herpes has been exploited research-wise. Curcumin containing chitosan or carbopol coated liposomes for the local delivery of curcumin showed enhanced delivery as compared to the uncoated liposomes. Mucoadhesive vaginal drug delivery systems offer very important advantages. The first salient advantage is its ability to localize in the region of application, thus improving the bioavailability of the drug. Higher bioavailability of insulin, calcitonin, progesterone, estrogen has been observed with the mucoadhesive vaginal drug delivery systems. Modification of tissue permeability of absorption because of the intimate contact of the formulation with the underlying absorption surface can be obtained. Prolonged retention of the dosage form at the site of application is another major advantage. Minimal side effects due to the reduced frequency of the administrations of the drug is always there. Finally, The limitations include it is not suitable for the drugs that are sensitive at the vaginal pH. Local irritation may be caused by some of the drugs, which again is a major limitation. It can be affecting the sexual intercourses. Gender specificity is there, so it is not meant for all types of population. Personal hygiene is another important requirement which has to be maintained additionally while taking the vaginal drug delivery system, and leakage of drugs from the vagina may occur resulting in wetting of the undergarments. Dear students, in front of you are the various marketed preparations consisting of the vaginal drug delivery systems primarily based on the mechanism of mucoadhesion. The examples include Gynol preparations, the Esagil preparations. All preparations are intended for a variety of therapeutic indications and can be used by using specific applicator which is visible right in front of you. The last of the headings which we are going to discuss today in this module are the rectal mucoadhesive drug delivery systems. The formulations which will be used for the rectal delivery again primarily will focus on the use of the polymers which have got the capacity of mucoadhesion. Before we go ahead with the designing of the formulations, let us have a very quick overview of the rectal drug delivery site, that is the rectum. The rectum is about 15 to 20 centimeter in the length. The diagram in front of you primarily highlights all the points which are going to be said right after. It does not contain villi or microvilli and is therefore non-motile. It has got a limited surface area of 200 to 400 centimeters for absorption. The rectum is highly vascularized with blood vessels and lymph vessels. This attribute is primarily the one which is positively harnessed for the purpose of the drug delivery. It contains around 2 to 3 ml of inert mucus fluid secreted by the goblet cells, forming simple tubular glands in the mucosal layer. This mucus has no enzymatic activity or buffering capacity. The pH of the rectal fluid ranges between 7 to 8. It partially avoids the first pass elimination. The drug absorbed into the superior rectal vein drains into the portal vein, which is subjected to the first pass hepatic metabolism. Drug that is absorbed into the middle and the inferior rectal veins enters the inferior vena cava and is therefore able to bypass the first pass metabolism, making the site very suitable for delivery of drugs which are suffering from the problem of first pass hepatic metabolism. The rectal route of administrations offer very distinct advantages over other dosage forms or dosage administration routes. The first primary advantage is for the administration of drugs which causes severe nausea and vomiting. After the oral administration, the rectal dosage form or the rectal administration becomes very imminent and important. They are very suitable for drugs which cause irritations to stomach and the small intestine. These are very well concerned with the fact that they can avoid the hepatic first pass elimination, thus preventing acidic and enzymatic degradation which can be easily achieved. When oral intake is restricted, such as prior to X-ray studies or in patient GI tract disease or when patient is unable to swallow, this route becomes a very important route of administration. It is very useful in pediatric, geriatric and unconscious patients. The therapeutic effect can be interrupted or changed by removing or modifying the dosage form in cases of accidental overdose or suicidal attempts. Then it is highly suitable for drugs to be targeted to area close to the anus. Of course, it will have certain disadvantages. Needless to speak, it is something little inconvenient for patients. The absorption of the drug is frequently irregular and difficult to predict, which might result in inter and intra-subject variations. The absorption of drugs through slow and incomplete absorption is their example. Interruption of absorption by defecation, especially with irritant drugs, could be there. Small surface area and fluid content as compared to the small intestine can affect the dissolution of some drugs, and there could be some microbial degradation which can occur in rectum. This primarily can also result in development of proctitis. The large-scale production of rectal dosage forms with suitable shelf life may be difficult, and additionally, it also requires high stringent storage conditions which are very difficult to maintain. And of course, to just have the primary disadvantage, it is a problem of patient acceptability. Rectal mucoadhesive drug delivery systems. The addition of the bioadhesive polymers to the rectal drug dosage forms results in its proper retention. We have got different types of mucoadhesive rectal dosage forms, which could be either in the form of semi-solid, liquids or aerosols. The rectal semi-solid dosage forms primarily include creams, gels, ointments, suppositories, whereas the rectal liquids are exemplified by solutions and suspensions. The research focuses in the rectal mucoadhesive drug delivery. The two areas which are most suited for the drug delivery to the rectal site include the usage of hydrogels and suppositories. So these remains the mainstay for designing of the dosage forms which are intended to be inserted into the rectal cavity. The hydrogels are the first one which have got a lot of interest of different researchers. These primarily are made from the thermosensitive polaxomer based systems and which are being very easily used for the administration of very problematic drugs like quinine. Similarly, chitosan microspheres have been made using the diclofenac sodiums which were then delivered by the way of hydrogel formulations. Similarly, the nimesulide, which is used for reducing the inflammation or paresis in kids and adults, have been formulated into a mucoadhesive in situ gel based, and primarily the polymer which was exploited was polaxomer. The in situ gelling and mucoadhesive mebeverine hydrochloride solution for rectal administration has also been researched upon. Similarly, when we talk of the suppositories, thermoreversible flurbiprofen liquid suppositories composed of polaxomer and sodium alginate for the rectal delivery have been exploited. In situ gelling and mucoadhesive acetaminophen liquid suppository using bioadhesive polymers such as polyvinyl pyrrolidone, hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose, hydroxypropyl cellulose, and carbopol and polycarbopyl have been used. In situ gelling and mucoadhesive acetaminophen liquid suppository using polaxomers grades of P407 and P4188 and sodium alginate has also been formulated. The mucoadhesive lidocaine suppositories using carbopol 934P as mucoadhesive and vitipsol H15 as a base has also been mentioned in the related literature. Stop. Similarly, when we talk of the suppositories, thermoreversible flurbiprofen liquid suppositories composed of polaxomer and sodium alginate for the rectal delivery have been exploited. In situ gelling and mucoadhesive acetaminophen liquid suppository using bioadhesive polymers such as polyvinyl pyrrolidone, hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose, hydroxypropyl cellulose, and carbopol and polycarbopyl have been used. In situ gelling and mucoadhesive acetaminophen liquid suppository using polaxomers grades of P407 and P4188 and sodium alginate has also been formulated. The mucoadhesive lidocaine suppositories using carbopol 934P as mucoadhesive and vitipsol H15 as a base has also been mentioned in the related literature. Dear students, in front of you, you will see certain products which are now available in the market. Each one is probably making use of the different types of polymers and targeted for indications like local anesthesia or the treatment of the hemorrhoids. In conclusion, we can summarize that the different routes of administration like ocular, intranasal, vaginal and rectal could be very well explored for suitable delivery of drugs for both local and systemic effect via the use of mucoadhesion approach. Each route has its own advantages and disadvantages, and the mucoadhesive polymers chosen can decide the retention time. Its optimization could lead to development of a system which can yield better patient compliance and overall an appropriate therapeutic outcome. Thank you.